IP Stretch, 7 videos stretching you further on your IP journey. Hello, this video is all about recall and codes. Codes we love. Codes is full of all sorts of ideas already, but actually we can go further and explore an idea connected to some of that, but quite definitely beyond some of that. So what are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about the elements laid out here. So first up, there's codes. C-O-D-E-S, credible, OMG, drawable, emotive, and simple. And the green ticks tell us we like codes. But here's the question, can we explore areas beyond codes, or at least something a little bit different? And yes, we can. We're going to talk about Clemens Meyer, and we're going to talk about Lynn Kelly. But underneath it all, we're going to come to one core idea, which is memory of Loci. What's that? Clemens Meyer. Clemens Meyer, I'd be amazed if you've heard of, but he is, as the flag suggests, German, and he is known for these things. Not in a tricks way and not in a poker way, but as in memory way. He is the 2006 champion of the World Memory Championship. There is such a thing. Clemens will have done a number of different memory challenges during that, but one of the classic one is a pack of cards, memorize it as quickly as possible. Imagine trying to memorize 52 cards in order. About a minute, I think, sometimes less. And then he needs to be able to say, you know, card 32, he needs to know which one it is. Needless to say, I don't, but he would. 2 of clubs. So that's Clemens Meyer. And actually, like all top-end memory champions, competitors, he uses a number of techniques, but at the core of it all is memory of Loci, memory of place. That the process is simple. He takes a particular journey he knows incredibly well, say his journey through his home from waking up in the morning through to leaving the house. He defines a section of locations and he places things in those locations in his mind. So he has an image of each location, but also the sequence that it goes through. Now, he will add really evocative things to go with those images beyond just the 2 of clubs in slot 30, whatever it was. But he will use place as a core way of remembering a lot of information. Sometimes it's called a memory palace or a memory journey. Okay, remembering a lot of things quickly in a sequence, that could be useful to us. But is there stuff beyond Clemens? Well, let's talk about Lynn. Lynn Kelly, as the flag suggests, is from Australia. She's an academic and writer, wrote a book called The Memory Code, which I've read. And she is someone who researches and explores traditional tribes, and specifically those where how they transfer information through a oral tradition, through speaking, through storytelling, through anything other than writing stuff down. How does an Aborigine understand and remember enormous amounts of information about plant life? Which plants are edible, which are not, which will help your, as a medicine, to help your headache go away. Or a lot around kinship, who's related to whom, which might seem like a small thing, but as her research says, really it's telling you who you can trust and who you can't. Hugely important information. How do they absolutely ascertain, keep hold of, and pass on that information? Again, yes, stories are involved. Yes, really evocative stories are involved. But another consistent theme for tribes in Australia and in South America and around the world is a sense of memory in Loci, a sense of place. So, for example, an Aborigine will tell stories connected to plants and friends and family and history, but they'll do it in ritual in different places across the landscape. So the memory connection is not just about the story, it's about where the story is told. Memory in Loci. So place has this really interesting opportunity for us in terms of when, especially when we've got a lot of information and the sequence is important to us. Yes, we can do all those things, but actually there's something quite marvelous about this. So let's look at an example, and I've completely made up this example. We're going to explore Beard, the new shampoo for men with beards. And we're going to explore that in terms of an idea across these areas. But let's talk about this. And let's imagine that you are involved in the business which is launching Beard. And let's say you've got a big presentation out to lots of people in the region around what is Beard. And we can imagine the flow of information you may well go through. You might summarize the business situation. Down 10% in hair care, we want it to improve. Maybe you'll talk about the consumer need. Men have beards. The innovation we have to bring to the market. We make a beard shampoo. The brand launch of Beard, you know, the marketing strategy, the brand look and feel, the marketing spend. And then maybe often ending up with expectations. We want to be in 95% of the trade. We want to hit a 15% market share, so on and so forth. So standard, but none of that's really particularly memorable, other than maybe you're probably slightly fascinated by that. What can we do to help people actually connect and keep a lot of that information together? Well, here's a few examples. ABC. I'm actually going to go CBA and end up here. So one is a sense of place, is the sense of place and actually having the presentation somewhere different. So for example, a big launch presentation like that, if you have it in the same place that all those launch presentations are made, that makes it harder to remember than if you go somewhere different. A specific example I remember is in the UK, we had the yearly SMO, total UK and Ireland organisation coming together for the leadership to do a big review. Most years it was in a fairly generic large London hotel. What's the one I remember most over the last 15 years? The one we did in Wembley. Partially because of the place. The place was so very different, I suddenly connect and remember much more to it. So where it happens in terms of place can be really useful. Secondly is how you use the stage and move around the stage. And actually you can get far more creative than just purely some positions around in terms of creating environments and spaces, especially with large stage stuff. Form a space one side of the stage with couches for gentle conversations, another side with very different lighting for different pieces. For the big presentations, you can do some quite interesting things around that. But I'll leave that for your imagination and creativity, and we're going to focus on map. If you're going to talk about place and location, map it out and guide people through it. So let's go back to Beard. How do we talk about business, consumer needs, innovation, brand launch, and expectations? Well, it could be something like this. Let's imagine we have a face. Here is a man with his presently blue beard. And actually, we want to talk about key aspects of the launch around this. We might say, okay, our brain up here needs to think about the business. I need all your minds absolutely aware that our business is down 10%. That's what we're thinking about. Okay, when we look around, we can see two things. On one side, we can see a clear consumer need. Men have beards. Let's do a quick picture of a man, and let's give him a beard. Men have beards, and actually they every day naturally used to washing their hair, but actually can we show particular needs in which beard care is different? Just to help, let's give him a red beard. I think red beards are fun. Okay, so that's what we're seeing on one side. What are we seeing on the other? Well, we are seeing very definite innovation coming out from R&D in terms of key elements of what makes a product which we really think can help, and we will be sharing lots of key information around that in terms of what's in the test tubes, what's coming out of the labs, which specifically meets this consumer need. Okay, we bring these two things together in terms of what we see, and we can smell, we can sniff out what the business opportunity is, and that is clearly a brand launch around Beard. A shampoo for men with large beards with a heavy desire to groom, marketed behind, very good-looking men with beautifully groomed beards, you can imagine. Let's give him a red beard again. So that's what we're going to be able to sniff out and smell in terms of what we're talking. Now let me talk about what I need you talking about, what I want you talking to the market about as we go out, in terms of the expectations for us for this launch. In the packs which we might give you in this pretend presentation would be all sorts of things, but let me highlight 3 numbers. I need you talking about expecting 95% of distribution across the trade. I want you to be talking about growing the category by 15%. And let's put it over here. I want you talking about beard hitting a 25% market share of a growing beard category for everyone. So, in this pretend presentation, business is how we think. We're seeing consumer needs and we're seeing great innovation. We can sniff out the brand opportunity around beard, the shampoo launch, and I need you speaking about these key things. So, within this, it's not just about flow and location. We still want something provocative and interesting to draw their attention, but using a sense of location here around a face actually locks so much more into how much memorable it is. You will be able to remember key aspects of this later today, tomorrow, and maybe even in a week or two's time. So location can be in lots of different ways, but if you form a map and draw it through and place interesting things in those maps, in the same way as Clemens puts interesting items with those cards through his household, or Lynn researches Aboriginal tribes doing interesting evocative stories, but in places across the landscape, suddenly, yes, codes, all those things do a wonderful thing, but actually you could actually hardwire in a remarkably large amount of content and information into your audience. Thank you.